Hey everyone, welcome to this week's 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. I'm your host, Amelia Borland, occupational therapist and owner and founder of Higher Standards Caregiver Training. And I'm running just a few minutes late today, so I'm sorry if anyone was wanting to hop on live today to watch, but I am here now. So, couple of important topics that I wanted to talk about today, talking about some kind of new info that we haven't discussed before regarding emotions with dementia, but then also wrapping up the last few weeks series that we've had about the importance of documentation in caregiving organizations. Before we get started on that, as always, this is for educational purposes only. If anything that I say reminds you of someone that you know, someone that you work with, maybe even yourself, and makes you think that that person needs to be seen or treated by a licensed healthcare provider, then please make sure you're advocating for that person to be assessed and treated appropriately, as this is really and truly for educational purposes only. Okay, so also if you are new to 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday, here's a quick lowdown. I'm going to give you two super valuable tips. The first one is for caregivers, and the second one is for caregiving organizations. And the goal is to get it done in right about 10 minutes. And usually I'm pretty good about that. So, okay, so what's this first thing that we're going to talk about today? So you've probably, if you follow 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday, if you watch it a lot, or if you watch the recordings, if you follow me on YouTube, then you probably know that I have talked quite a bit about emotions in folks with dementia, and the fact that, of course, these are just human emotions that they have. Another great resource on this, by the way, if you don't know who this is, you should check out Judy Cornish. She has some really fabulous information and education on this kind of stuff. So check her out for sure if you don't know who Judy is. But there's also another side. Anyway, so yes, obviously, emotions come from our humanity, not from a diagnosis or disease. That's just true. But there is also a flip side to this in folks who have dementia that causes people who have dementia often to have more extreme emotional reactions or have trouble controlling their emotional reactions in the way that they would have been able to do prior to having dementia. And that has to do with impaired executive functioning. So, and by the way, executive functioning, honestly, it's a topic that is too big to go over in 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. So I am planning, I think a little bit later in the fall, I'm planning to have at least one event or maybe even a series of events talking about executive functioning in folks who have dementia and understanding how that affects the way that we care for them, and how we can, by understanding that, make caring for them easier and a more pleasant experience for everyone. But that is way too big of a topic to cover in 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. So what I wanted to kind of get you interested in, though, and talk about today is this basic idea of executive functioning. So executive functioning are sort of what some might consider our higher level brain processes. It's basically the ability that our brain has to problem solve, to think into the future, to check our impulses. So, like if we get angry about something, our executive functioning is what allows us to not just punch the wall or lay on our car horn, although sometimes we all lay on our car horn, and sometimes we all struggle with executive functioning, right? But it's what allows us to think forward, think about our own thinking, and sort of manage our own behaviors a little bit more. And a lot of times when folks have dementia, once they reach a certain point of dementia, it becomes harder for them to manage those things. Those executive functioning skills can be impaired. And so, of course, that affects the way not only that people are experiencing the world when they have dementia, but the way that they can manage their own reactions to those experiences when they have dementia. So, and those people cannot change that, unfortunately. So it then becomes us as the people, up to us as the people providing care to learn the ways to help create environments and create a care process and use care strategies that will help to make it easier and less likely for, kind of outbursts or aggression or agitation to occur, because the person who has dementia may not be able to control those things as well as they used to. So hopefully that wasn't confusing. It was just a really quick overview. Like I said, executive functioning and executive functioning issues are it's a big topic. It's a big issue. We really need to talk more about the brain and how it functions and all of that stuff. And I want to do that. So I think later, I literally had this thought this morning. It's not fleshed out yet, so please forgive me. But I think in the fall, I'll either do at least one event or a series of events talking about dementia care and executive functioning, and how we can, as I said, structure the environment, how we can use different care strategies, how we can help manage things externally better to make it easier for the person with dementia to kind of help manage their internal environment, if that makes sense. I hope so. Anyway, moving on. If it didn't, please feel free to let me know. And I will try to clarify, and I'll also think about putting any questions, comments, concerns, things that you have, put it in the comments section. And I will either try to address those in an upcoming 10-minute Tip Tuesday, or I will make sure that it's something I'm thinking about as I'm planning for these events that I'm thinking about in the fall. Okay, moving on though to tip number 2 for caregiving organizations. So wrapping up, talking about documentation. We've talked about how important documentation is to make sure that there is a record of the care that we're providing, an accurate record of the care we're providing, right? And how important it is that that care record be accurate. We've talked about how documentation is not just a tool to show what we've done, but it also can track the changes that our client may be experiencing over time. It's a really important tool in making sure that we are providing the right care, that we're noticing things that are going on, and that we are reporting issues to healthcare providers when we're seeing declines or things come up. So our documentation is really, really important for that. Of course, also we've talked about the fact that documentation is important from a liability perspective for the non-medical care provider, right? For all of the reasons that we just mentioned. But there's one more issue with documentation that I want to talk about today, and it actually doesn't have to do with your caregiver's documentation. It has to do with your documentation if you are an owner or a leader in a caregiving organization. And it's not even about documenting care. I know, I should get to the point. It is about documenting the training that you have provided to your caregivers. I cannot overstate how important that is. Whatever kind of training is being provided, it needs to be documented. It has to be easily accessible. It needs to be stored in a way that you can pull it up at a moment's notice, because just like the care that your caregivers provide, if they don't document that care, then from a record standpoint, that care didn't happen, right? If it's not documented, it didn't happen. It's the same thing for the training that you provide. So it's really important in any kind of training program to have documentation, if possible, that just happens. For example, all of the training programs that I do through Higher Standards Caregiver Training for the agencies that I work with, for the organizations that I work with, all of that is automatically documented. It's super easy to access anytime. It's filed and stored away for that organization, so they don't even have to think about it. And that's got to be a part of your process. No matter who you're working with to do your training, or whether you're doing training on your own, it can't just be something that you say you're doing. You must have your training documented. Otherwise, It's the same as having it not happen. So anyway, that's it for me today for 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, if there's other issues or topics that you want to hear about, I'm totally not only just open to hearing about those things, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are and what you want. So please feel free to leave a comment. If you're watching this recording, make sure that you are sharing it if you see something valuable in it. Make sure that you're following me so that you can get notifications when the next 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday comes up, and or whenever there is an event like the one I'm planning for this fall about caring for dementia, like the Fall Prevention Series, which, by the way, you can access the recordings of that series. I will drop a link in the comment section below to show you guys where to go to get that if you're looking for it. But anyway, yeah, make sure that you are letting me know what you need. Make sure you're sharing this if you find it helpful. And please make sure that you are following so that you are getting notifications of when I'm doing this again. All right, until next time, though, y'all, I will see you next Tuesday for 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday with 2 more super valuable tips. Until then, please stay healthy, stay well, and most of all, take care.